Another village in need. A bounty has caught the company's attention as of late. It reads, Beast Hunters Wanted. A beast disturbs the work in Lowvale's woods. Alvar Lomwell, the sawmill owner, seeks hunters to put an end to the menace. I realize I was not visible on camera, but I fixed that now on the Zoom. A fair and generous reward is offered, but after what happened with Pineacre, the company commanders are even less willing to take the promised sum at face value. They are sending a group of treasure hunters to do a preliminary investigation of the matter with instructions to be as thorough as possible. We don't want any more moss sick stumbling into camp this time, or spiders raiding the place. This is a bird in one delve, so keep that in mind. And the three of you have been traveling into the mountainous reaches of the kingdom, where the forest begins to get denser and denser and following the flow of river and valley. Because this village is called Lowvale, and it lies where roads matter not, at the edge of the land where everything has been named by man. People here don't expect visitors. Let's get a brief moment on your walk towards the open clearing of Lowvale. You have had to hoof it for a little bit once you had to leave a main road, but there is a river to follow. Let's go ahead and just get a little bit of the scene before you all enter the town proper.
So, since this is way off the beaten path, do you think they will take kindly to us? Obeha says with her very frog-like face, blue green skin, frog eyes, just following along the river.
I think you certainly present a capable countenance. I mean, as they say, loggers can't be choosers.
I think that we are in a position where they will not turn away any help that they can possibly get. You have a frog-like countenance. I have bees. Uh, for it, mm, you can pass.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I have shortcomings. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure that they're there.
Indeed. And eventually, you can see the clearing widen to quite a decent size. You see various buildings, 2 stories usually, built out of stone and wood, straw along the roofings, and perhaps for insulation. There is a river that cleaves the town in two. Laborers with hooks guide floating logs toward a sawmill. The woods linger as a shadow in the gaze of the town. You see these dirt paths etched with tracks and carts and boots, flanked by crumbling stone fences. And the river flows slow and gentle, bucolic. Children play by its banks while their mothers wash clothes in the shadows. I'm going to post a picture of Lowvale here in our Zoom chat. There's some numbered locations, but we'll just talk about this in broad. There are a few buildings of note throughout Lowvale among the people who move between them. There is a blacksmith, sort of market placed into a corner of town, a tavern, an inn, well, an inn and a tavern, I should say. Various stores, barber shop that probably doubles as the local doctor, farms, and the most prominent of them being the sawmill. There are a few set goals to keep in mind here in the village of Lowvale. The most obvious, and probably the one the company commanders is or most in line with, is learn more about the beast disturbing Lowvale. But the other set goals are there as additionals. You don't have to do them at all. Maybe someone else will tackle it on a future venture to this part of nowhere. But they are see what wares are for sale and listen to Merwin's story. You don't know who Merwin is. You don't know that she has a story, but keep this in mind. How are the three of you approaching the village as you're walking up out of the tree line, ever closer?
Having heard tell of a beast, Cassian is checking the surroundings to see if maybe it has been it has passed through the vicinity in recent days.
Well, sounds like a hunt roll to me. As you're kind of like scanning the horizon, go ahead and ask your questions and we'll build out your dice.
So, are there any tracks that don't seem like horse tracks or people tracks or just traditional animal trackings like deer or foxes and things of the like?
Okay.
Things that stand out.
Okay. Well, you said you had a skill for this?
I do not.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay. Well, you definitely get a light die for just asking questions. Is there a piece of equipment or a skill you could make an argument for?
No, of course not.
Absolutely. Well, then it'll be a single die hunt and roll.
And for some reason, there we go. Light 5.
Light 5. Take your token, but you will encounter something terrible. I'll get back to you in just a moment and answer your question. While Cassian is sort of, surveilling the area as you're walking up, for it, what about you?
Port's more of a city-born social creature, so I'm gonna look and see if somebody clocks us, right? If one of the villagers is like staring or looks troubled. I mean, we're armed people, so.
It is worth noting that the three of you are clocked almost immediately, like walking up to the town, and you are surprisingly, perhaps, welcome with this unhurried, honest kindness. You can see it in their faces, in their body language, that they sort of like brighten a little bit, just at the presence of people coming to visit their little corner of absolute nothing. And no one's necessarily going out to wave or rush up to meet you, but there is like an honest and earnest, just like, oh, hey, people. And I think even some of the children in the river perhaps like wave up to you for it, I think, as you're walking by. And those who look at Obeha, there is not revulsion or hostility in their faces. There is a surprise, a shock, but not like an outright sense of, oh dear me, that person's a frog. Obeya, how is all this making you feel? Because I think this is your first real social delve since you have become unmasked, or you decided to do away with the mask that hid your visage.
I think this is quite different than what I was expecting because, well, like even back at camp, like people when I pass by like tents and whatnot, people sometimes do stop and stare, trying to see whether or not, even though the wooden mask is gone, if I'm still like wearing a mask underneath it all, if there is some sort of monster there. Whereas this is just like neutral of like, oh, frog question mark? That's I would say a positive in Obea's book rather than a negative.
Indeed. Cassian, you don't see any signs of a beast or some monster having ravaged this place, no signs of damage done or anything of that nature. But there is a palpable tension in the village. You see it in their faces. And even though they are earnestly kind and welcoming, there's something behind it, a lingering shadow that hangs over their heads. You notice that many of them wear black, or bits of black cloth have been set out along the village. Perhaps the town is in mourning. And as you're getting closer, all three of you, you can see various bouquets of white flowers have been set to the side of several doors. Apparently, some significance there. And a series of torches have been stuck in the grounds along the perimeter of the town. A couple of townsfolk are standing there, keeping watch. And beyond all of this, the wild pastures that surround Lowvale, where herds are grazing under the eyes of shepherds and mastiffs, the woods just continue to loom, the river being born from its depths. One of these townsfolk, who is apparently assigned to like stand watch at the perimeter, just holds up a hand at the three of you approaching and just says, "Oh there, welcome to Lowvale." They scan your faces and kind of linger at Obeha, more curious than perturbed, and just looks back probably at Fort. I would imagine you seem like a middle of the group kind of guy. This person just sticks their hands along their waist and says, "Oh, is there something that we can do for you?"
Absolutely, my good man. I see that you've already set a perimeter of sorts. We're here, having heard tell of the beast that perhaps marauds these lands.
I saw. Well, Lomwell's word got out then. Aye, there is there's been an evil afoot. You might wish to speak with some of the folk. I was on the night watch, and I fear that I'm dreadfully tired. Might not have the best presence to tell you whatever you're looking to know.
I'll clap him on the shoulder good-naturedly.
He seems reassured and nods and just says, "Well, please, welcome to Lowvale. Just if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask." And now that you're kind of moving about the town, the locals, similarly, some might hold up a hand from afar to greet you. Others just clearly are not opposed to your presence. But you sort of see there are various buildings of note. You might have questions of your own. I'd like to see what the three of you want to do to begin poking around into whatever is happening to this community. Let's start with Obeha.
I think this is more of a curiosity type of question, but with the amount of white flowers about, as well as just generally how isolated this village is this like a common type of like white flower, such as like a daisy or something more significant? Because I have both rituals and alchemy.
Totally. I don't think this is something that necessitates a hunt roll here. I do believe that this is, at least for the region you have been walking into, a very common like white flower. It strikes you very much keeping with the what Cassian noticed with the sort of the tension in the air of mourning and the black that has been taken. It seems to have some sort of like a funerary or a mourning significance. At least in matching with everything else that's already been clocked so far. But there's nothing necessarily special about the flower itself.
Yeah. With small villages like these, I think there's a certain delicate nature about them. At least one person has been lost, maybe more, considering the amount of white flowers around here. Yes, whatever this thing is, it's very much alive.
And we must approach with caution and discretion. lest
Mhm.
we turn them away from us.
We have to be careful we don't give them false hope, however. I mean, we are here to perform a task, but that task is not necessarily saving these poor people.
Mm.
So with that said, will anyone be wanting to split off to go poke around a certain area, or are you all looking to stick together? He asks ominously and perhaps threateningly.
I think even just following off of that interaction for its demeanor is one to kind of like walk the perimeter rather than go to like a building and talk to someone. He wants to get a feel for what they've already done and if there's any kind of vulnerable spots, something they overlooked, or something where they put up a defense and it got compromised.
Absolutely. Fort will walk the perimeter of the town. Um, Cassian, are you going into the town proper, or do you have something else in mind?
Cassian would actually like to make their way towards the market,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that that tends to be a place where people get together and talk about both rumors and hearsay and things of the like. Might be a good place to find some additional information.
Absolutely. It's kind of right there amidst so close to the sawmill and like in the local inn, so it's probably a hub of information for you. Obeha, are you going with Cassian or are you going elsewhere?
Uh, I think I'm going to go with Cassian and
Okay.
maybe split off with Cassian because, like, looking at the map, there is this place called the Four Winds.
Yes, that is
Uh,
the local inn, which we can talk about here in a
oh,
moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I probably am gonna check in there because, well, locals will know what's up, but however, any passerbys, they
Mm.
will notice the odd things.
Hmm. You don't imagine this place gets a lot of passers-by, but who
Probably,
knows?
probably not, but it's strange to see a place
Hmm.
like this is open.
Indeed. I love it. The two of you make your way into the town and you reach the market, which has been set up in a little ramshackle square. Some wooden posts have been set up to hang clothes as sort of like improvised shade. Um, I think let's say that it's probably like late morning. You probably had like a little bit of like an early start, so you're getting here before afternoon. And sort of the immediate thing you get from this place is, oh, this is not like a consistent market. Like it is like probably changes every morning depending on who has something to sell today versus who is offering something today. Um, but as you two are walking up and just see other people milling about, there is that sense of like, oh, we're walking into something right now because it becomes very apparent. You hear a raised voice over some of the din of the background noise of everything going on. There's a man sort of like standing here, right here in the market, it, kind of a you know approaching middle aged, but probably like somewhere still just shy of it. Um, he looks haggard, like he hasn't been sleeping well, but is otherwise dressed pretty much similarly to everyone else here. He is desperately like rambling and ranting on and trying to like talk and engage with people, but the locals just regard him with disgust or they just ignore him entirely. You actually see someone like spits by his feet as they're walking by him. His desperate pleas are going on deaf ears. Aside from that, though, there are people around the market. Indeed, plenty of people who talk here, but that's I think the most immediately noteworthy thing you come across is someone is just having a really bad morning, apparently. What do you do?
I would like to approach the gentleman. Excuse me, sir.
He's like leaned up against like a post and just rubbing his forehead. He just glances up at you and eyebrows just immediately shoot up. You see he has like this like scruffy beard, hair pulled back. His eyes are bloodshot and almost like wild. And he like like looks up at you and he says, you have to believe me. Please tell me that you can believe me.
Well, I need to know what it is you need for me to believe in order for me to believe.
He begins to like look around desperately at other people, at you speaking with him. Obeha, what are you doing while this is happening?
Like this guy, is really strange and like a little bit wild and a little bit frantic. Like besides like his like sort of like obvious non-sleepiness, is there anything else strange about him?
Mm, great question. Let's get a hunt roll on the table here. Is there a skill or a piece of equipment that helps?
Um, I would say if there is something hidden at play, illusions perhaps, or perhaps just like alchemy, because I know like a little bit about medicine and the body, but that's about it.
Mm, I like the illusions angle. You can take that.
Mhm. Or I get a token
Yep.
by and something terrible.
Mm-hmm. Get a token. I want to go check in with Forit now. Forit, tell us a little bit about what you're doing out here as you walk around the edge of the town, sort of between where the torch fence ends and the pastures sort of begin, all these like dotted farmhouses.
Yeah, he's kind of walking the edge, and he's doing the like General Patton thing where he's got his hands behind his back, and he's got his stiff wool cloak over his leather gambeson, big old dueling saber on his hip, uh, almost walking like he's inspecting their defenses, and definitely not trying to be stealthy, trying to be very visible.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, almost in the hopes that somebody approaches.
Indeed. Well, let's get a hunt roll on the table.
Okay.
You take your die, and do you have a second die you're going to get from this?
Security.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead and roll.
All right. Let's get two dice together. Eek, a 3.
Encounter something terrible. Go ahead and ask your questions.
Uh, does it appear that their defenses are professionally or adequately set up? And then is it clear that they're set up for a certain expectation? Right, like you would set up for men differently than for like a boar.
Yeah, no, their defenses are very amateurish. They really only consist of just posted torches. You're not even able to really call them defenses. They're more of just like an additional measure to stave off like darkness, just to illuminate something. And it seems that like it's they are stationed here to like to keep watch for anything that happens, but they don't have like any specific preparations other than that. You will notice as you're staking out along the uh the edges of town, something does catch your eye right along the edge of the tree line. You see dots of white and bright, deep red lying sort of in a slight cluster in a spot along the tree line. You can get closer if you want to see what it is. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, as you cross the field, you come upon a few sheep that have been torn apart, soaked through with their blood, entrails spilling. The wounds were inflicted by something big, bigger than a wolf, probably, but reminiscent. What do you do?
I think I try to see what's the nearest farm and approach that farm in such a way that I could point to where the sheep are. In other words, I'm trying to draw kind of a beeline. No
As
pun
you're,
intended.
yeah, you just clock one of the nearest farms and you begin walking towards it. There is a house and a little sheep enclosure nearby. You're not sure if the sheep that you found came from this farm, but there are a lot of sheep around here. But curiously enough, you see like hanging at like points along the sheep enclosure, and indeed the front door of the farmhouse itself, are various little iron amulets.
Kind of primitive rural ward, I assume.
You see a pair of 9-year-old twin girls just sort of milling about the farmstead. A little what is a baby sheep called?
Oh, a ewe?
Lamps.
A lamb.
Lamb.
Thank you. A tiny little lamb, just kind of like stumbling around, following them as they're just kind of milling about the yard. They're just like picking at flowers and just kind of keeping to themselves, just hanging out in the yard. Though they both kind of like look up and see you as you're like walking up from the edge of town. Um, and the little lamb just goes, "Bleh, bleh." Just gives a little animal sound. Bleh.
So, girls, is one of your parents or elders available?
They look at each other in absolute sync, look back at you, nod, and like point at the house together. Um, and the little lamb is like fumbling over and just like poking around your boots now. When an individual comes, stepping out of the front door of the house, um, sturdy bodied, kind of, well, just gives the vibe of this guy's a farmer, like he's getting up there in years, kind of like strong forearms. It seems kind of quiet, and he's rolling up his sleeves as he sees you, looks over at who you presume to be his two daughters, uh, and he just flashes you a slight smile as he says, fair morning to you, sir. Is there something I can do you for?
Well, I fear I bring bad tidings. I guess the depths of the situation will depend on to whom they belong. There are sheep, and I'll point in the direction up the road there, up the field, that have been mauled by something rather large. I can't say with any certainty if they're your sheep or not, but I
Uh,
did want
he
to inform someone.
he looks out at where you point, and his expression drops a little bit. He gives a little, oh, damn it, not again. Thank you. What's your name, sir?
For it, sir.
For it. I'm Thalor. Thalor Shadowgreen. He holds his hand out to
Well
shake
met,
yours.
Thaler. Give the
Thalor.
old forearm grip.
He shakes your hand and says, "Those are my two girls, Lorena and Lorena." And they both like hold up their hand and in unison go, "Hello."
Hello, young missus. I think it pays to keep them within eye shot and earshot, given the nature of that attack.
Well, it's certainly not the only thing that keeps us wanting to protect them these days. Scratches had a little bit of scruff on his neck. Says, I'll ask around to see if anyone's missing any sheep. I think ours are all accounted for, but thank you. Are you hear about the bounty?
I
Uh,
have
was-
two compatriots that are, I believe, strolling the village proper, but I wanted to get a good feel for the edges of it.
he does that thing where it's like he like very like socially friendly body language, like touches like your upper forearm to like steer you away, but it's clear he's like, and we're taking this conversation away from my children.
Yeah, of course.
And he's like pulling you off to the side, and he says, you'll want to speak with my wife, Hester. She was one of the survivors of the attack a few days ago. She can tell you more.
I'm sorry that she had to brave that, but I suppose it's good that she survived. Might I speak with her, sir?
You can find her at the sawmill. That's where she works.
Okay.
I kind of gives a little scoff and says, I married a woman with cracked but tireless hands. Haven't regretted it a day.
I'll give him the genuine laugh.
And
So
going back to the market real quick, we'll come back to
yeah,
you. So, Obeha, while this man is talking to Cassian, you are certain, but not quite, that everything that's coming out of his mouth is a lie. It's like everything tells you this man is lying to me. And so Cassian, after he was looking around other people, he's like looking at you desperately and says, what is your name?
My name is Cassian.
Okay.
And yours?
Rylan Lomwell. I'm the foreman of this sawmill. You have to believe me. Just I takes like deep breaths. He's beginning to hyperventilate a little bit, and he says, "An old woman told me where to cut the best wood, but she tricked me. Tell me you believe me."
I believe that you believe you were tricked by an old woman. I pray you tell me the truth.
No, God, no, I am telling the truth. Why won't anyone believe me? And he's just like stumbles off, despondent with himself. A few of the locals. Oh, go ahead, Obeha.
I think I am going to go after him.
Okay.
Just you work at the forge.
No, no, I work at the sawmill.
Sawmill.
I'm the foreman. My brother
Foreman.
owns. Yes, he's not even like looking at you, and then like he opens his eyes, goes, oh, it sees you and like leaps back, but like he just, oh, I apologize. I apologize. Who are you?
My name is Obeha. Could you do something for me? Because I hate to say it, but I don't believe you, but I wonder if there's something that you could do that maybe tests out a little bit of a theory of mine. What color is the sky?
He looks at you and then looks up. It's blue.
Does that seem like a lie to me?
Isn't that the thing? The sky is objectively blue, but coming out of Ryland's mouth, this man's lying. Or at least that's what your mind is interpreting.
Mm-hmm.
Cassian, while Obeha is like sidebarring with him, you do see a couple of, because you came here with the interest of like market chat, you can already kind of like hear just other people remarking, calling Rylan a coward or a liar, just sort of to themselves, but some of them even like look at him and just like spit venomously, just staring daggers at him. Are you watching this play out, or are you doing something else?
I will approach those that are obviously in derision of this man and ask why they refuse to believe him.
They look at you and they sort of tell you, once they understand that you're here for the bounty, they tell you that effectively 5 days ago, 4 of the sawmill's workers and the foreman, Rylan, They went up the river as usual to do logging. But that day in particular, they went further in to a place they call the River Falls, which marks the beginning of the deep woods. And typically, people don't want to go to the deep woods, much like the rest of Trophy. No one wants to go into the forest any deeper than they can muster. But like that, like for reasons unknown. And there was an attack of some creature. And the people say he ran off, left the others behind. 3 of the loggers went missing. Only 1 other came back. And then Ryland stumbled back a couple days later and has been lying ever since when pressed for answers as to why he did what he did, why he went up there, why he ran away. But they tell you that you really should speak to the Lomwells or anyone else in town because they all have their own opinions about the Lomwells.
This logger that came back, where would I find them?
They point you in the direction of where Forage at. Hesta. Hesta Shadowgreen is the logger who came back.
Obeha, I am going to venture forth in search of a logger that came back. Are you okay here?
Oh yes, I have something I can do here. Uh, so I do we have perhaps a private place we could talk because I could help you out with this because I know a thing or two about curses.
He will take you to his house
Mhm.
and lead the way for it. In your conversation with Thalor, what are you doing now?
I was going to see if I can find the other 2 before heading to the sawmill.
Yeah, very good. I actually think as you're like walking back through the town that you cross over a little bridge over the river and you see some children poking around outside a little building. The windows are smoky, the walls are covered with vines. There is a sign at the entrance, just a mortar and pestle engraved in the wood, the only indication that this is some sort of business, apparently. And some white flowers have been left by the door. There is a group of children hanging around, trying to peek in through the windows, nudging at each other, like, no, I want to look. Let me have a look. She'd be like, is she doing any magic? And they're just like poking around. And one of them's like, search the bushes. Maybe she has an effigy. He seemed to be just really busy with this one building. Do you engage or are you just going to keep looking for your companions?
Uh, I'm kind of on a mission, so I'll keep looking, but I'll note where it is so I can double back to it.
Very good. You'll cross paths with Cassian on your way deeper into town as Cassian is heading towards where you just were. Or rather, no, going towards the sawmill because Hesta Shadowgreen. So you're actually walk arm in arm even. You can even head towards the sawmill together. But the 2 of you cross paths.
Yep, and I'll tell Cassian about the sheep. We don't have to necessarily do the detail, but yeah, I'll point. I was talking to Thalor Shadowgreen. I'm going to talk to his wife, Hesta Shadowgreen. Apparently survived an attack.
That is exactly where I am headed.
Good. There's apparently an apothecary. Children being children, looks like they consider her a witch.
Wait,
But bigger picture, I don't see how these people will pay this bounty unless they're going to pay it in livestock or logging shares. So I do have that in the back of my mind. Is there a town village treasury or something of that nature? Do they have I don't see a church or a temple or any kind of like place where they would hoard their goods.
You seem very focused on not the task at hand.
Oh, well, what's the task at hand? Killing the beast?
Well, to investigate and authenticate the veracity of the tales of the beast. And then, if needs be, yes, kill it.
Well, if there's a bounty to be paid, I'd like to know that they're going to pay it before I kill the beast. You didn't see the sheep that it mauled, and so that does lend some veracity to their claims, and it does make the price a little bit more than if we're just going to round up a stray wolf. But let's see what this Hesta has to say for herself. I mean, she apparently survived an encounter with it. It's probably as close as we're going to get to a first-person account.
Well, certainly closer than we did in town at the market.
And speaking of the market, even though everyone's sort of pulling away from there, something I forgot to mention. So, while it is pretty like ramshackle, the market does have, you could have seen it, like various bits of what seem like useful equipment, odds and ends. And the prices in Lowvale are significantly reduced from what you might be used to in other visitations. They also rely on bartering pretty heavily here. So you could use the market, and this goes for any visits to Lowvale, to either, if you have an item slot, like of your backpack slots, you can swap a item from that slot out with another one of your choice without needing to cross it out. So you could like effectively barter and trade items. You can do that like once per your visit to Lowvale, but you could also acquire new gear as found equipment at only a handful of silvers. So if you do that a second time, it'll cost you a gold. But effectively, the prices in Lowvale are pretty good. Things are marked down significantly, so you might be able to like acquire goods and services here for a decent price for once. But Obeha, Rylan takes you to his home. Let's paint the scene. It is immediately apparent that Ryland's home is that of his brother, his older, more wealthy and respected and capable brother. How do we know this?
I think as we head inside that it's clearly much too big for a single family household. Like there is like I think a good portion of like the town is like single story buildings and whatnot, except for like shops and whatnot. This is a multi-story building.
I think when you walk in the front door, there's a pair of boots set out and maybe a coat on a peg, and both are bigger and nicer than what he's wearing currently.
Anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to gather my thoughts. There is a family portrait painted rather rudimentarily on the wall. And in it, we see depicted the gentleman we met in the marketplace, but he's kind of black sheepish, standing off to the side, and the people in the foreground are much more proud and well-to-do.
As Rylan leads you inside, from around a little doorway, a 17-year-old young woman like pokes her head around, sort of saying, Father, are you back so? Oh, hello, Uncle Rylan. And just looks at you, furrows her brow, looks at Rylan again. And Rylan just lowers his head and just mumbles something under his breath about just having just someone to talk to, and is just like brushing past the young girl to go to whatever corner of the house he occupies. But as you're like walking into the house, you can hear from one of the side rooms this wooden creaking.
Multi-generational family household. So nothing really to cause for concern, at least in Obeha's mind. No, not all old ladies are witches. That is just a factual lie.
Only the cool ones.
Only the cool ones.
Do you follow Rylan or do you investigate that
Yeah,
noise?
I've got to follow right on.
All right, yeah, cool.
I was said I would help him out, and I'm going to help him out before I go investigating the rest of his house because
Yeah.
I don't want to be with that weirdo.
Absolutely. Rylan closes the door behind him, sort of shutting out the sounds of everything, really, and just like leans against the door, just sighs with great exhaustion, rubs at his face, and says, "Okay, you said you could help me."
Yes, I can unravel this curse that has been placed upon you. But due to the nature of it, it's a little bit disturbing to most regular folks. It will not harm you in the long run.
He looks at you, both like tantalized, but also like deeply cautious. Like he doesn't trust you, or he might be afraid.
I think I open up my palm, and this is affecting me mostly because what I can do is take the curse and place it on something else. But this is not something I can do out in public, at least not without upsetting most common folk. And I think I take out like a little bit like of a carving knife and cut up my palm, and from my blood there is tadpoles, and like I think I put it on carelessly on like a piece of furniture.
I think Rylan gags a little bit and looks on in horror, but fascinated nonetheless.
And then I take out a little bit of twine and I begin to like unravel it as I'm preparing my ritual of unravel.
Can you remind us what your unravel ritual does?
It is pull the threads of a ritual to uncast it and recast it somewhere else.
Very, very fun. Well, this will be a walk us through the risk roll.
Oh, I'm intending to remove whatever curse of lying that has been placed upon Rylan. I get to ask the table of what can go wrong with this.
I think like the first thing that comes to my mind is that not only do you like not unravel this curse, you become tangled in it yourself. And then everything you say will be perceived as lies too. Probably not going to help Obeha's reputation back at camp, but yeah.
I think along similar lines, by unraveling this curse, you bind yourself and Rylan to speaking only the truth for an extended period.
The ritual gets a little out of hand and spreads to everyone in the household to the point where they will all speak truth, but without filter.
Oh no.
Oh, these are really delicious too. Yeah. Yeah. And I think ultimately just like another thing that comes to mind is like you could worsen his curse, and you don't it's like you pull the wrong thread and it tightens, and it's even more terrible for this poor man.
Like,
You'll have a dark eye because this is a ritual, by the way. Oh, but
mhm. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead and walk us through the rest.
I take a light die if I have any skills that apply. I have rituals, I have equipment, like
Yeah,
I'm good
you
at
take the
this.
light die.
Devil's bargains.
I got one for you. No matter what, the one who cast this curse on this man will know you as you touch at their magic. They become aware of you.
No matter what, another member of the household walks in the middle of the ritual and is not pleasantly disposed to whatever this is that's going on in their house.
No matter what, the 17-year-old girl walks in and demands to be taught the ritual.
Those are all pretty good.
Oh man, I'm gonna teach a 17-year-old magic. I got
I,
it.
no matter what, she'll walk in. That's good. Yeah. Okay. That's
Mhm,
fun. Uh, risk roll. 2 light, 1 dark.
mhm. Double sixes for light and one on dark.
That is
The best.
literally the best possible roll you could receive in this case. Incredible. Let's take a quick break. Obeha, you got a 6.
Yes.
You may describe how, or I can do so if you would prefer. Up to you.
I think as the sort of the as I unravel and then re-ravel the twine to unravel it again, so it's severing the spell. I think like in Obeha's vision, there are these golden threads that sort of wind and are woven around this man who, every time he speaks, it just comes out lies. It is tethered around his throat into his mouth and tongue. It is golden, but is woven together like spider thread. And I take that twine and pull it towards the slowly dying tadpole that's on the counter because these are aquatic creatures. And tying it around the tadpole, which now is been cursed with lying. I don't know what that looks like since tadpoles can't speak. At least this one can't.
Well, it's now a tattlepole. One thing I will say,
Mhm.
I love it. One quite rewrite to that. The thread is not golden. It is a
Mm.
bright, vibrant red.
Ooh.
And as you're conducting this, the door begins to open as the young woman is entering, saying, Uncle Rylan, and she stops. As you're seeing this, her mouth goes slack. She gasps a little bit. And she like watches on, unable to say anything, just can't help but stare. And then you wrap it around the tadpole. And she looks at you and looks at she goes over to Ryland's side, like puts her hand on his shoulder. He like slumps forward and he just breathes a little deeply. She looks at you and she says, what is he all right? What did you do?
Well, he's been having a little bit of bad luck getting anyone to believe him as of late. Whatever comes out of his mouth may be truth or maybe not, but that's determined by him now rather than someone else.
She looks between the two of you, and then Ryland looks up, meets your eyes, glances over at the girl, and he says, "You did it work?" Um, I was tricked by an old woman in a red cloak. He looks, and the young woman looks at him, and she has this sort of like astonished look of being like, I don't, I don't understand. That's not any different than anything he's saying. Why does it not sound like a lie to me anymore?
Oh, because he was cursed by that old woman.
What?
Because she didn't want the truth getting out now.
And she looks on at you, sort of astonished, and says, "What you just did? That was magic.
Yes.
Can is it is it easy to perform, to teach?"
Magic is dangerous. May uncover terrible secrets, especially ones found within the family.
Uh, um, my my grandmother, she her memories aren't too good. Could that could that help her?
Hmm. Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes the mind goes because the age just catches up with you. That I cannot unweave.
But you could still teach someone how to do that.
I could,
Will
but
you
then
teach
again,
me?
yeah, it has a price.
What sort
Magic
of
is
price?
not, magic isn't given freely. I can personally can be bought with gold, but other things, you could trade me something.
And we'll come back to this soon. Cassian and Forit, you arrive at the sawmill stationed around the edge of the woods where the river feeds the saws and water wheels. You can hear just the grinding and the sawing away, the occasional hack of people slapping hooks into logs and dragging them up from the banks to strip them down. Sort of busy and all that. What are the two of you doing?
Kind of swaggering up to someone that looks like they're watching the work versus performing the work. I don't want to startle somebody and you know, get them in any kind of danger.
There is a man, middle aged, who has an imposing presence as he is sort of like stationed, looking out over everything, observing it. He has a weathered face. You'd be surprised if this man's brow was ever unfurrowed. They're just pressed together. And despite his impressive build and still relative youth comparatively, there is this weight that hangs over his head. Seems to have added years to his back. Seems to be the individual you're looking for.
Sure, I'll approach him. Maybe even gesture as I approach, so he knows I'm headed towards him.
Doesn't signal back, but he just nods, aware of your presence. Turns to face you as you're walking up.
Say, ho there, we seek Hester Shadowgreen. We'd like to have words with her.
I don't recognize you. You must be from.
Yeah, we have not met.
No, we
That would be
haven't.
happening now.
Turns his eyes over to Cassian.
You will please have to forgive his uncouth nature.
No.
I am clearly of a more calm and level-headed demeanor. I can speak civilly.
No, it's quite all right. I figured that by sending word to the city, I'd receive some unique sort. Alvar Lomwell. I own the sawmill.
Impressive outfit.
Aye. We make a fair bit of coin. Manage well for ourselves. Despite our troubles. We keep a tight ship. I can only assume you're here to speak about the bounty I posted.
Aye.
Please, follow me.
And like walks off to like some other space of the sawmill to talk in private. And once it's just the three of you, he says,
I will tell you exactly what I know. 5 days ago, 4 of my workers accompanied my brother, the foreman, to a logging camp much further than we usually venture. I do not know why. My brother keeps lying to me about why he took that risk, but all the same, that place, it's the edge of the deep forest. The deep woods, we try not to venture there. Dangers aplenty. And of the 4 workers and my brother who went there, only one came back, Hester Shadowgreen. She was frightened and unsure about what she had seen. She rambled on about seeing some sort of creature, but I'm a pragmatist, skeptic. I understand that she was under the weight of a great deal of stress. All the same, 2 days later, my brother returned. He was apparently separated during the attack. That is what I know. I would suggest you start your investigation, if that's what you plan to do, by poking around the area where the attack took place. My brother could lead you there. He's usually found hanging around the market. I would also urge you, on the other hand, to speak with Hester herself, if you so desire, and try to ask the families of the missing. He looks to like out past you, like through a little like a window just overlooking the town. He says, "We lost. We've had 3 loggers who haven't returned. There's Kyra Harlow, her father Ven, is a barber and a doctor, and there's Telm. He's the husband of our publican Mally, and then lastly, the older fellow Orton. He well, his daughter is he like frowns. She runs the remedy and liquor shop."
The white flowers are to signify missing.
Aye, yes, it is a tradition the townsfolk have decided to employ.
I take it you're aware of the attacks closer to home. Sheep in the field?
Yes, it is it's not uncommon for wolves and other predators of the woods to poke around the edges of the town. Sometimes the farmers, they have their livestock wander and get dragged from the pen or caught unawares. Part of rural living, I'm afraid. But we're hardy folk. We get by. We've dealt with wolves before and we will again.
I don't know much about rural living other than life on the open road, but I dare say that is a bit more than your average timber wolf.
Could be something bigger then. Quite a expansive bit of wilderness here at our doorstep in Lowvale. And if there's nothing else, I should return to work. Thank you both.
Of course, sir. I apologize for any offense my brusque manner may have caused.
No offense, kind sir, no offense whatsoever. You are merely answering the call, and I am thankful for it. It should not go unsaid that I understand on the surface we seem like simple folk, quiet folk, humble folk. But I would like to assure you, I would not post the bounty if I was not capable of paying quite well for it. The Lomwells have done quite well for ourselves. And as I said, sir, I run a tight ship.
I turn to Cassian with this big predatory grin. Like, that's what I was looking for. Should we speak with Hesta then? Since we're here?
I wanted to attempt to cast aura on the foreman.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and what does aura do specifically?
Ascertain a creature's emotional state, truthfulness, or true form, and true form.
Indeed. Well, a ritual takes time to cast. What would you need to do to cast this ritual?
I think that because I haven't heard anything to the contrary, that Cassian's bees would begin buzzing around and probing and humming and singing strange songs around his head. I go, never mind, they're just curious.
Oh, so it's sort of like the bees are doing their thing and they just take it like insects. That's fun. Okay. You can guide us through the risk roll. I'm into it.
Okay, well, what could go wrong here?
Yeah. I honestly think that just at the most basic level, Alvar is an extremely just like he doesn't beat around the bush. He's like good talk, and he's like he just already leaves and just sort of going about his business, and you sort of like lose this window that to do the spell or do the ritual, and so it would just fail, and that's one option.
Like, this is pretty a soft reaction, I guess, but like I think some of your bees, as they're like trying to buzz around this guy's head, they're just gonna get squashed by him. Like it's just gonna like boom, bee.
An alternative is that like one of them like sting, like some of them like start to like they get agitated for whatever reason. They begin to like sting people in the room that aren't you. So for for it and Alvar are getting stung.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything, to add on to those. Those are pretty solid.
Cool.
Those are awful. Okay.
Well, you will have a dark die because this is a ritual.
Yes.
And you have a skill that applies here.
Uh, um, besides rituals.
Oh, well, yeah, that one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have it.
Devil's bargains.
Yeah, I got one. No matter what, some of your bees are going to remain behind here in the sawmill and make a little hive.
No matter what, this distraction between the bees and our presence exposes that the ship's not as tight as Alvar would insist. Perhaps something goes awry in the mill.
Oh, like a little disaster happens. Oh no. That's good too.
I think no matter what, I think Alvar will realize that you casted some sort of ritual.
I like tragedy in the sawmill.
Oh boy. All right. I know exactly what I'm gonna do then. All right. That is 2 light, 1 dark on the risk roll.
Light 6.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Well, go ahead and describe to us how your ritual takes effect, what it looks like, and I will we'll talk about what happens next.
All right. The bees begin to fly away from my head one by one, away from Cassian's head one by one, and they start to bounce and almost ping off of the foreman's head. Not a sting, but a just a little annoying tap 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 to see what's in there. And as they tap more frequently and all around his head, a color appears that I am then able to read and interpret as either truthfulness or lie. And when they're done, they will return to my head.
Indeed. I think this is a good setup for doing a hunt roll just because you've done the ritual and now I want to know sort of like what questions you have to parse from it and see. I'm kind of curious about that.
I'd like to know if the foreman has sent others into the dark forest before, and if no one came back, would it just be unspoken of?
Okay. Well, you have the two hunt because you already have your ritual skill, so absolutely checks out. You may roll.
That's a 4.
Okay, that's a 4. But you still get a token, and you encounter something terrible. This will be in addition to what is also about to happen, because I'll answer your question first, which is to say, no, this man, you are the first people to respond to this matter, but true to his nature, Alvar is a pragmatic businessman. And he's actually pretty determined to get to the bottom of what's going on here. He is not about unnecessary risk. He would not send his employees to endanger themselves. So you get this from him, and then amidst just the occasional hammering and just sawing sounds, that sawing we hear go less woody, and a crack and a tear and a gushing, and we hear a sharp screaming yell as Alvar very quickly rushes past you out into the commotion to see what's going on. And we see one of the sawmill workers has their hand split through the saw blade, half embedded into it. You can see the bits of tendon, the blood as it gushes around them. They're in a great deal of pain. And as Alvar is trying to get a read on what's happening here, you actually see several of the workers bunch up and sort of blocking the way from him and are giving him the you stay away, we're dealing with this. You see nothing but resentment towards Alvar from the workers here as they rush to help one of their own. And in the commotion, they're just asking what happened, blah, 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 blah. And, the person between just muffled cries, they're getting attended to. They're like, quick, got to get them to the barber, is saying mumbling about saying there was just a spider, just mentions a spider a few times. Spider. A spider bit my hand. I was swatting it away, and then went through my hand. Might be a little too soon for spider chat for Cassian right now, given everything that you've been through lately.
Very much so, yes.
Yes, but for it, you do notice one of the workers is Hesta. You have a pretty good clock on her, both from Thaylor's just meeting him and seeing their daughters, and you're like, oh, that is absolutely the woman. Do you talk to her now, or are you deciding that this is not the time?
No, I think this is the perfect time.
What do you do?
I'll walk up in the confusion, and I'll kind of try and get Cassian's attention too, so they know my intentions. Uh, and I'm like, Hester Shadowgreen?
Um, I, 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 I'm sorry. Do I know you?
I've spoken with your husband. He referred me to you, as did, well, Alvar, is it? Um, he seems preoccupied at the moment, but I was hoping that since work has seemingly stopped, you would have a moment to discuss what occurred up in the deep wood.
Oh, you're here to help. Yeah, sure.
Certainly.
She's like rubbing at her brow as she like walks away from the commotion, and just like shakes her head, and she tells you pretty much similar information, but there's some new stuff here. Um, she and the rest of the group, and I'll just sort of summarize it here for brevity. She and the rest they went upriver, guided by the foreman, and she tells you how, as the sun began to set at their camp, a dense fog began to rise up from the river. And then a white beast came flying in on the fog. And then the next second, in the blink of an eye, trotted up to them, graceful as a horse. But she levels her eyes at the both of you and she says, "But that thing was no horse." And she tells you how her three companions, the missing loggers, Orant, Kyra, and Telm, each followed this beast as if under some kind of spell, and they disappeared with it into the mist. And she just ran back to town. She didn't know where Rylan went in all the chaos, but he stumbled back into town a couple days after she returned.
I can't say that that's what I expected.
Obeha. The young woman, her name, by the way, is Ormina. She does not really have a lot, but she's very interested. But she doesn't have a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of things. I mean, if you're willing to spend a hunt token, of course, maybe you get something from her in this scene. But on the outset, the 17-year-old girl just doesn't have anything to offer you.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I will generally spend the hunt token to gain a bit of gold from the guy
Sure.
I helped. Because
Oh,
he,
sure.
I removed this fucking curse from him, and it was really fucking with his head.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Rylan is extremely grateful. He'll give you a sack of silver coins that will be worth 1 gold. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of this. He'll even be like, he'll offer to even be like, if this is something that
Yes.
Ormina wants,
Okay. Yeah.
maybe it'll help
Yes.
convince you.
That's fair. Amina, I'm going to have to ask you to find a spider within the house.
All right. Just like a normal spider.
A normal spider.
Okay. She begins looking in the corners of the room and be like, I guess I can go look.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't find one?
Well, it's going to be interesting because because if it's not a spider, well, then it's going to be more involved.
All right. I'll go try. And she, runs off to go look for a spider. And
as she runs off, and it's just like, I don't actually need the spider. I just need to have her show me that she really truly wants this.
Rylan's not really paying attention to what you're saying. He's still kind of recovering, just exhausted and extremely relieved. But he does turn to you at one point and he says,
I'm you sorry. If your companions haven't already, you must speak with Hester. She was there. She came back. Um, I I can take you to where it happened. I can take you to where I saw it. The beast that took my companions. Um, it came with the mist up from the river. It walks on four legs like a horse, but it can also fly like a bird and speak like a man. I can fetch my bow and my axe, and I have a leather tunic. I usually use it for brambles or hunting, but I can go up there. I can show you the site. I can show you the camp. I can show you. He's just like he's beginning to like ramble again.
Good sir, you are you would collapse if you were to go back out there like this. You need to sleep.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The river falls are. It's a trek. I mean, if you follow the river, you'll get there eventually. But I, this is all my fault. Please let me help you.
What? Getting lied to from some woman in a red cloak? I would hardly call that being your fault, especially when magic is involved. Magic is cruel, it's unusual, and it's nasty, and it bites.
I don't feel comfortable sitting on my hands, but I should rest for at least I just have a seat before I.
Yes. I'm honestly not planning on going out there within the next day or so. So you will go at my schedule.
Right. All right. Now I can. I should. I should speak with my brother. I should. Damn it.
He just curses under his face and puts his head into his hands.
Take a nap.
Incredible. And Thornton Cassian, now that you've spoken with Hesta, do you reconvene with Obeha?
I think that it would be wise to keep Abeha apprised of the situation, making sure that our stories align, of course.
Are they still in this dimension? Well, last time I investigated something with Obeha, they had the ability to go into like a different dimension or travel. I don't know. I'm not really educated in the ways of magic, but
That's very clear.
But they're here, right? In the village?
They are. I believe
Okay.
I know where they went. So we should tell them. I intend to actually go and find this horse.
Oh, well, okay.
Let's get this scene with the three of you back together. Are you going to do this out and about in town, or do you reconvene at the local tavern? Where does this scene happen?
Tavern works.
Tavern. Let's do
Yeah, I
tavern.
think it depends on where Obeha takes us.
Yeah, I like the
Probably
tavern.
the tavern's
Yeah,
fun.
I'm selfish, but we love a classic tavern scene. Come on, everything's nice, everything's great.
Yeah, I think we are at the tavern, and Abeha's like reconvening this story about what happened with the brother. So Rylan was very cursed with telling lies, even though factually the information was correct. However, mid-while during the ritual, Rylan's niece, the daughter of Alvar, came in and sort of afterwards asked me to teach magic. So Rylan paid me for all of that. So I'm looking to aim to get a little bit more money just to repair some of my equipment later. However, in terms of for the company's sake, I've been paid for today. Uh, Very interesting. That young lady, she was willing to eat a spider. So very impressed with that.
I'm impressed that her father can pay us handsomely. He can, in fact, make good on this promised bounty.
Oh yes, I've been
And then
inside
some,
his
maybe.
home. It is very impressive compared to all the rest of the buildings in town.
I will note about the Four Winds that this place is the heart of Lowvale, but the air here has been just like sucked out. The people enjoying their drinks are taking it bitterly, murmuring between themselves. And when you entered, you clocked the abundance of white flowers left at the door. The tavern keeper, a woman by the name of Mally, is minding the place. And though she is kind, you can tell that she is a little like there's that despondence. As we have learned, her husband is one of the missing loggers. And amidst the conversation that's just happening in the periphery, most who hear Alvar's name even spoken tend to like just spit or scowl. Doesn't seem to be a well-liked figure in the community, perhaps even before all this happening, and just people mutter to themselves. There's a quiet little 9-year-old boy just sitting on the stairs. You can get a cheap meal and a drink here for nothing. They also do offer rooms here, but you have the camp with the company. But perhaps it might be useful for some other service in the future. The atmosphere, though, is very much just like, ooh, the something died, and it's not nice here. But you can have a
Yeah.
pretty confidential conversation amongst yourselves. And with that said, over drink and food, the day is progressing. What do you all want to do? You probably want to begin making your way back towards camp before nightfall, but you still have light of the day to work with. If there's anything else you would like to do, otherwise, you can just decide you're going to report back to the company commanders.
For flavor,
Mhm.
if allowed, I would like to give a passionate performance, a speech of the dedication of the logger, a poem for the dedication of the logger and their hard work in an attempt to bring life and spirit back into the tavern, um, to be written at a later date.
No, I love that. That's really cool. Yeah. Do you just sort of like stand up in like the room and just sort of
I,
perform in the moment?
yes, I will stand on my chair and let my silk robes just fall around me, raise my glass, and begin to orate, with just beautiful words, comfort and uplifting, and we must continue logging and harvesting for the good of us all.
Oof. Okay. You had me until the exact moment you didn't.
I
Um,
know.
on account, man, imagine walking into a room full of strikers. And not that these people are striking, just like speaking of the virtues of scabbing, just being like, hey, the boss you hate. Let's talk about the virtues of lugging. I think this does necessitate a risk roll. They're not going to be dark dice on the table here. Now, the people here aren't going to like begin throwing cups at you, I think, but I do believe this could not exactly be the right place or the right time. But the effort is commendable. Lead us through the roll.
Um, well, um, what could possibly go wrong here in this situation for me?
Well, first,
Oh,
what is your ultimate like
oh,
goal? Like, what do you want to
my
happen?
ultimate goal is actually to uplift the spirits of those in the tavern. They all seem very kind of morose. Everyone is saddened by the loss of loggers and missing loggers. Everyone seems to be, missing someone. Um, so the lifting of spirits.
I mean, I think honestly, what could go wrong here is just that like those very affordable drinks and meals are suddenly less affordable. The hospitality sort of goes out the window here. They don't kick you out, but I think they could just be like, you don't get the discount.
Oh, like I'm just gonna make that worse. I say that like at least at the very least Cassian gets kicked out because like there is like this what looks to be a pompous rich ass noble coming in here lecturing like common working class citizens about how they should be grateful for the jobs that they have. Yeah,
Well,
well,
when you put it like that. No, I
yeah.
love that. That's really good.
I think what could go wrong also is just when you may be winning them over with the myth of the logger versus the reality, right? It's the ideal. Alvar walks in, and it's like the whole thing just collapses.
It's also pretty good. Okay. Uh, keep it going, BK.
Oh, this is dreadful. Um, all right. Um, yeah, I'm going to be using um, ooh, passion. Um,
Yeah, oh, so it's like, oh, well, if nothing else, they'll realize, oh, his heart's in the right place at least. Like he's clearly a passionate man, but all right, yeah,
yes.
all right.
Do I have any devil's bargains?
Hmm. I don't have any to offer you that I come to mind now.
I think no matter what, whether spirits are uplifted or not, the tavern patrons become galvanized. Like they are together, even if they're together and being mournful or they're together and their spirits being lifted, you've made them aware of their bond to each other.
I think well, it's not as harsh as the consequence. I think no matter what, God, Rylan is going to come into the bar, and that's going to cause a bit of a commotion.
Ooh, um, I will take Foret's bargain.
That you'll galvanize
And
them.
then I'll galvanize them, yes.
Right, that's too light.
No,
What'd you get?
3.
Okay, 3. So that's not great. Um, now, if you want, as per the risk roll, you can add a dark die to the mix and re-roll the whole pool.
Yeah, sure, why not?
That's how we like to see it. Go ahead and
Yeah,
all right. 2 light, 1 dark,
that's 5.
5 light or
Light,
dark. Oh,
light.
very good. Well, you succeed, but there is some sort of complication. Um, just go ahead and at least present to us, and obviously I know you don't know anything written, but just give us a little bit of the scene here as to how this is playing out. And as per the devil's bargain, throughout it all, everyone, like, there's this sense of like, they look at one another and there's sort of like isolated like individual mourning that kind of like breaks that spell of that like pallor that hangs over everyone's head where it keeps them off in their own selves, where they kind of like look to each other and they're like, hey, no, we're in this together, like as a community, even if they don't like what you're doing here. But thankfully they're not, and they probably do a little bit at least. Maybe they get the spirit. I'll let you narrate that. But as true to the devil's bargain, yeah, like there's this kind of like growing camaraderie. But I'll tell you the complication after I hear a bit of what you can describe here.
Um, so this will be again, I'm standing on my chair. I'm raising my glass, and I begin to orate about the struggles and strifes and how onward we press and onward we cut. Um, though some of us fall like trees, um, there will be new growth, and together we are a forest. Um, they seem to sort of respond to this, though not necessarily taking it kindly from the rich, pompous asshole that walked into their bar.
Indeed. And I think, though, while most people go back to like just minding their own business, they're at a cool moment of like, great, thanks. But they're just like, all right, well, I mean, at least the words are pretty. The innkeeper herself actually seems like actively annoyed, like gritting her teeth and sort of like clearly holding back the fact that she is actually not a fan of that. Did not seem to agree with anything, even though her page she sees it's like, well, everyone else here is apparently everyone here didn't mind that, so I'm gonna shut my fucking trap. But you can see that she doesn't really like you, Cassie, and in fact gives you a bit of a stink eye. And as she kind of like walks up to the table after you've probably, she begins to like clean up after you all and takes away Cassian's cup before he had finished it, and just like going to like clean tray and being like, "All finished."
Suppose that I am now.
Well, figure I wouldn't want any more lubrication on that virtuous throat of yours. You might start a sonnet. She smiles over at Obeha and forehead and just says, well, there's nothing else I can get you. And then she looks over at Cassian and says, dress it up however you want. Someone will have to pay for what happened. And she just turns and walks away.
Nothing would possessed you to give that speech.
What do these yokels know? That was suitable for the coffee shops of Amberette. I say in like a stage whisper that's like way louder than it should be.
Yeah, someone definitely looks over at you at the mention of yokel, but he's a little too preoccupied with his newfound camaraderie with his community and wants more to do anything about it.
I know less about these people than I do about our own company. So improvisation is it's an iffy practice.
It's a skill in its own right, from what I understand. I thought you did fantastic.
Oh, well, that's refreshing.
Almost had me wanting to pick up an axe, but not quite. Should we take our business elsewhere?
I think
That's
best.
likely.
And with that, you feel you have a decent grasp of something happening within Lowvale. You know that at least the Lomwells are good for the coin offered up. And obviously, when you will eventually return to camp, the opinions and decisions, of the company commanders are their own thing. But I'm curious to know, the three of you, as the sort of like first boots on the ground, what do you make of whatever is afflicting this community, this white beast of Lowvale? What are your opinions of the matter? Any insight that your character has, whether or not it's shared vocally with the others? I'm just curious to hear a little bit about your takeaway from your experience in this town.
I think Obeha probably would have heard stories about horses leading people to ride them and then drag them down into the depths of, well, a lake or whatever, a marshy territory. And since the river is very prominent, wonder if that horse is tied to the river. And they just went in too deep. I think I definitely am going to return back here in later days to talk with Rylan some more about where they went specifically, because like I really want to know how he got back out of the mist. But I think for now, I think I heard like, because like it was mentioned earlier about like around the apothecary, like there was a quote unquote sort of witch. I think I really want to investigate that before we leave.
Oh, kind of poke around that before you head out of town.
Yeah.
I think you have time for that. For it, Cassian, are you accompanying Obeha, or will you just begin making preparations to leave?
I was absolutely intrigued by that hut. I don't know about for it. Okay.
Love it.
Yep. And in fact, it's like, all he's talking about for theory is like, it's a witch. There's a witch in the deep woods and blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. You head back over to that house. For it, those kids are still there. And actually, you're pretty sure there's new kids. They may have swapped out in shifts. Like, there's just kids hanging around there. But, they're all omnipresent, still just whispering amongst one another, poking around the bushes, trying to get, look around the windows. What do the three of you do? Do you just go in, or do you engage the children in any way?
To look in people's houses, children.
The children all like turn to look at you, and their faces just go bone white, and they like stare at you. And like one of them just raises like a finger and leans over to another one and goes, "Hey, is that a witch? I don't think so."
There's different types of magical people out there, more than just witches. I'm a sorcerer.
And that's different from a
Yes.
witch.
Witches typically form organizations with one another. If there's one witch, there's about half a dozen of them. I travel solo in terms of magical company.
I think all the children like look at each other, and they're just stock still, taking you in. They don't seem to know what to do. Their brains have thoroughly shorted. Like, they're just unable to grasp what's happening right now.
Show them mercy, Obeha. They're just children. Curious.
Curious, yes, but it doesn't stop having poor manners.
If you are a sorcerer, which is not a witch,
Which is not a witch.
do you know Miss Lint? Is she a
Well,
sorcerer, or are you friends with witches?
I can be friends with witches. However, I've heard that there was a magic user in town, and I heard that there may be a witch. And I would think it would be proper to introduce myself to the local coven if that was the case. It's rude to enter someone's home without introducing yourself.
All of the children look like petrified, like, no. Like, no, witchcraft is evil. Witchcraft is bad.
Witchcraft is not evil.
No, not true. One of them like pokes a finger and being like, I know witches are bad because Farmer Shadowgreen, he used to work for a witch hunter, and he knows there are all sorts of things, probably.
Witch hunters are bad.
Witch hunters are bad.
Well,
but they hunt witches. It's very quickly apparent that this conversation with the children is completely cyclical. And so eventually you can disregard them.
Yeah, I'm just going to disregard these punks.
And they go back to just like muttering to each other and like trying to search around for like witch sticks and like effigies and like carvings and spells. And the three of you enter the store, again clocking the white flowers by the door.
Mhm.
And immediately you are greeted by a wash of different smells from herbal to like liquor. Like this place has the smell of both like a liquor store and an apothecary, and there are shelves um stocked with like thick syrups, ointments, honeys, small jars of various colors, all of them with little handwritten labels, herbal liquors, like local products. And there is a young woman behind the counter here. And you realize as you're entering the shop, you can hear every single thing the children are saying outside. Like it is not muffled. Like, and this young woman, probably like no older than like 23, maybe. She looks very young. She has a serene face, kind of like chin held high, very professional, like upright. But also it's like distant demeanor to her. And she just sort of like nods, and three of you enter and says, well, I'm glad for you to finally enter. Did you have a lovely conversation out there?
Uh, I know that those children could be a little bit annoying. I figured that just try to chase them off, but they seem to be quite stubborn little brats.
Yes, many people in town can be described as stubborn. Pay them no
Hmm.
heed. I am Shanna Lint. This is my shop. Please feel free to peruse, ask any questions. I offer medicines, poultices, liquors, ointments. And yeah, they have a stock here. I'll tell you about. They have things for sale actually.
Ooh.
Among her stores, um, and there is something called old root ointment, which is apparently good for cuts and scratches. That goes for about a gold. The liquor of black sloes. There's about 3 doses of that for a gold. Revitalizes you with a boost of energy, though she warns you. Actually, no, that one has a single use. My bad. It's still a gold. It revitalizes you for a bit, but she notes that it has quite a noticeable numbing effect on the tongue. So
Mhm.
probably don't plan to have any speeches if you drink of the black sloes. There is a bitter almond paste. That's 1 gold for 3 doses. It's used for headaches and discomfort, but she warns you a higher dosage might produce drowsiness. There's just an antidote for like poisons, and warns you it's quite bitter. It's a gold. Um, she has the hermit's balm, which is it's good for strengthening the muscles, and she has coffee liquor, which is very good for clearing the mind and staying focused. All of these are effectively like worth a gold. A few of them have a few extra uses. Mechanically, they don't do anything like reduce ruin. It's not that extensive a healing, but they might help with conditions or something in the moment. But I think all of them basically go for a gold with variations of dosage. And Shanna just says that it's like, she tells you it's all made from like local product. Um, and yeah, that's about it. Any
Yeah, I
questions
think
for Miss Lint or anything you do in here at the store before you leave?
I think Obeha is just gonna like introduce themselves and like probably have like a decent enough conversation about the sort of alchemical processes and like general like store business because like
You
fuck
are
if like uh
an alchemist.
alchemist, sorcerer, just general all around magic person.
I
Some
don't go for a
uh
lot of
yes, but well, I hate to ask this about you, even if the things are untrue. Witches around here?
well, first of all, contrary to what all those young children outside might say, no, I am not a witch.
Hmm.
And they also thought my mother was a witch, and probably her mother before that. I inherited the store after my mother passed away some years ago. It was always rumored that she apprenticed to a witch, and well, let's just say that there is a reason why the lints have been greeted with frowns in Lowvale. My father, though, is, you know that he's one of the missing. Orton is one of the disappeared loggers. She's a little stuck on that, but she says, to tell you the truth, no one in my family has ever been involved with witchcraft. I am not a superstitious woman, and actually, I am not intending to remain in Lowvale for ever, if I can help it. I'm trying to eke out enough so I can go to study alchemy in Amberet.
As a very impressive type of goal there. I, even though, even though you do not have that sort of thing, I presume at some point Rylan did come here. Because,
Rylan
well,
Lomwell, yes, I know him.
Lomwell, yes, because, well, I'm saying he was cursed by someone.
As I said, I am not a superstitious woman. He's been
No.
rambling on about an old crone and something of that nature. He does very little business here, but, well, I do actually recall that as a young child, I do admit I did see an old woman dressed in red once upon a time at the edge of the woods. I actually remember my grandmother spoke to me about it. And I remember her words, and I have not seen this old woman since, and she would be long dead by now. So surely it cannot be the same woman that Ryland saw. She was quite advanced in age. But what my grandmother said was, if you find a strand of red wool, never follow it. It is from the crone who weaves her traps for little girls who don't listen. And let us just say that little bedside cautionary tale stuck. I certainly do my best to listen to those who are worth listening to, at least. Well then, if there's nothing else.
Uh, GM,
Yes.
red thread that keeps on coming up over and over again. Is that a symbol of some kind? Like, is there like any sort of lore? Would I be familiar with it? Because like it keeps coming up.
Make a hunt roll.
Yeah. I have symbols.
Yeah, naturally.
3.
I think while Shanna is going on about this, your eyes cannot help but be drawn to a little corner of the ceiling. There's some cobwebs, a little spider web, and there is a spider perched there. And for a moment, it's hard to tell. You think that the thread that it is weaving has a reddish tint to it, when your vision doubles and it just looks like normal spider silk. To answer your question, thread has a lot of symbolical meanings, from fate to weaving to binding. After all, I mean, it was said that the world was woven into being by one of the most prominent saints, one of the most prominent of the sisters. And so it really depends on what part of the world you're in, what sort of thing you're asking. But at least in your experience, weaving can, I mean, this is very true for literally with your unravel thing, like all this talk of symbolics and the threads does bear a pretty stark similarity to some of your own magic, perhaps.
Mhm.
So you're not certain of any specific overt ones that come to red thread. There's a lot that it could be because it's so very, broad, but there it is, just sort of scratching at the back of your mind. Nothing in particular, just feels distantly familiar in a
Yeah.
sourceless way. Do any of you buy anything from Shanna, or do you get ready to head out of town and we can address if you are picking up any pieces of treasure on your way out so you can meet your burdens?
Here's a question.
Okay.
Could I try to sell Shanna a bit of acid?
Interesting. Like to do like to exchange with it, like one for one.
Potentially, yeah. I'm hoping for a gold, but if it's just a trade, then I'm
Oh,
good.
do you have a hunt token?
I do not have a hunt token.
I will
I
say
do have a vial of acid, though.
that is useful. I do think I'll tell you what, I think she's interested, but she's not going to buy it from you now because though her interests lie with the alchemical pursuits, acid does not have any place and like use for the remedies that she makes for the stock. So she's
Mhm.
trying not to engage in like frivolity. She's really trying to just like stick to the business side of things so she can make money off of it.
That's
But she says if she can think of a use for acid, she would be happy to discuss that sort of thing before. But if you're coming back to Lowvale at any point, and she kind of sends a general word for all of you back, like I mean, if anyone has like feel free to bring business to Lowvale because she would love it. So I think that's about it. Before we wrap things up here, Cassian, for anything from you?
I wanted to see if I could, in the local market,
Mhm.
trade my perfume for some honey.
You absolutely could. You absolutely could. Yeah, you can trade the perfume slot out and replace a thing of honey with it. And the merchant that you're speaking with, she like there's like this very sweet woman. She just tells you, being like, "Oh, I think it's lovely over a bowl of oats. It is just so delightful. I hope you enjoy, love."
Oh, well, thank you very kindly. I'm sure that I will.
Oh, uh, if you plan to be around the area again, just a little word of advice. If you find yourself in the woods, don't eat the honey.
And why not?
Well, folks have had odd experiences with the honey in the woods. It's not normal. I don't know, but I don't know myself. I've never tried it. I've never gone out there. But I heard from my husband's brother's friend that he had um, an afternoon on a hot summer's day. Tried some of that, some honey they found from a dripping from a bough out in the woods, and ooh, couldn't stop going on about just the strangest dreams. Probably not good for you to eat in the long term.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
And for it, anything from you before we head out of Lowvale?
I wanted to see if I could score a magnifying glass for some silver, i.e., to add it to found equipment.
Yep, you can add a magnifying glass to your found equipment. Be at just a discount price.
And then I have 5 hunt tokens that I'd like to spend 3, if at all possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, I'll say, let me just scroll through my list of possible things to see if there's anything that sticks out to me. One thing of that, any other hunt tokens being spent from anyone before you leave to meet your burdens? Or has everyone met their burdens already?
or make more gold.
Or yeah, spend your hunt tokens to get more gold is what I meant to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're muted, PK.
You're muted. I
You're
can't
still
hear you.
muted.
Still muted.
What the heck?
There we
There
go.
we go. I am keeping my remaining hunt token.
Okay, but you already have a gold.
Yes, I have a gold. Yes.
That's got you. And Obeha?
I do not have any more hunt tokens.
Oh, but you're good. Okay, you have your gold.
Yeah, I'm good.
Sorry for the lack of profit. But you mean it. The company will be very happy to hear this. And then Ray, Fort spending 3. Good lord. Yeah, you'll just find effectively 3 gold worth here. I assume you're for 3 different pieces of treasure. I don't think there's anything like unique or magical you can find in Lowvale. It's a very like simple town. But I will throw out there that actually no. Give me two. Give me 2 ideas for like what they might be for simple treasures. I have a third one in mind.
I'm trying to think what would be purchasable here for silver, but outside of here would be, something remarkable or fancy. And I think perhaps some wood chimes
Ooh,
that
I'm into that.
are made out of rare wood and have a very like rich tone to them.
I'm into it. Maybe that can be worth 2 gold even, and then
Okay.
yeah, we'll just say keep it simple so you don't have to think of a second one. But the I owe you one more, and maybe it's like while you're like walking around town and like by the riverside, like you find it's like something catches like the light a little bit there at the riverbank. You like kneel down to take a look at it, and it's one of the amulets, or at least similar to one of the amulets that you saw like over at the Shadow Green farm. And on like, it's very simple, just like a little like iron amulet, but it has like a symbol of some kind drawn into it. Now, Fort might not know this, but I'll tell you, this amulet is made out of cold iron.
Nice.
If Obeha sees this, you may not know this. If Obeha sees this, Obeha will be very uncomfortable in its presence. Because cold iron, well, doesn't agree with the Fae. But it's not like a proximity thing. It just would be like a
It's just disgusting to look at it.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if Ford chose it, but that's probably worth the gold, or maybe you just hold on to it. Who knows? And with that, with enough sun still left in the day for you to reasonably hike back down to the camp, you set out and trape through the woods, leaving Lowvale behind, ready to report back to the company commanders and your fellow members of the opportunity present here. Perhaps there is something that can be done. Perhaps there are even more wonders, treasures, horrors that await in those looming woods of the deeper forest. But all that will be explored another time. For now, I will see you all back at camp.